Well, Sonia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am too. And it's so funny. So I told you I was going to start with a little story, which is kind of like a little confession because you and I met through a friend where my friend Michelle, who's been on the podcast a bunch of times, and I think it was her that did the email intro. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm so embarrassed to admit this. So we met. I had a great time on your podcast. I was like, oh my gosh, this is you're a girl's girl, and we had so much fun. And I was like, oh, I totally want to be friends with this gal. I just had the best time. And then I think I had sent you a link to schedule the interview. And I was like, hey, let's do your interview. So I sent you the link. So I was doing a little research and I was like, I searched your name and there was several emails there. And I don't know if you remember this, but in 2023, you pitched me to be a guest on the podcast.
Yes. Yes. That is so funny. And you just like never responded?
No, I didn't. I don't think because
Yeah.
I get a
Yeah.
ton of pitches. I'm sure you guys do too, right?
Yeah.
For
And we
sisters and
were new then, right? And so it makes sense that you would be like, "Meh, meh." Like, because actually somebody said to me
so
that like
embarrassing.
majority of sobriety podcasts like don't last a year. Like it's people who are really excited to be in sobriety and they're like, let's
Yeah.
go. And then they kind of are like, meh, meh.
Yeah, people fizzle out. So I've been doing mine for 9.5 years. So I've been kind of
Amazing.
a OG. Is that weird that I pat myself on the back that way? But here we are.
Yeah. I still feel like it's been 2 years for us and I've been sober for 8 and I still feel really passionate about it.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that so much. And so here's my confession. I've been doing some self-examination lately and I've changed my stance on some things. One being like I actually have clients now who aren't really interested in quitting initially.
Yeah.
They are wanting to practice, see if they can practice moderation.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really important question to answer is can I moderate, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is for years I've been saying, the only thing that I know after 31 years of sobriety is I do not know what's right for anybody else.
Yeah.
And if I really meant that, then I should be open to working with people who are still answering the question, can I moderate? And be open about it, like not have a preconceived idea that we're going to eventually get to abstinence, because that's not how I feel. And I have clients who are high functioning, really successful that are moderating successfully.
Yeah,
And
we touched on that a little bit when we were talking on my podcast too, because is that like antithetical to like AA, right? So like how
yeah,
do you square that with like AA?
right. Yeah, I just know that for me, it's not an option.
For
Like,
me, it's not either. I'm actually
yeah.
dating someone. I'm dating someone now who went to rehab, came
Uh,
out, and has a beer once in a while. And I honestly, the first few weeks, like I've never seen him drink, but the first few weeks we were dating, I was like, this just isn't, it's not possible. It's not going to work. Right. Like
you
there's,
have answered that question.
yeah,
Like, to your bones, you're not
yep.
going to moderate.
I know it to my bones. And he said,
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but alcohol is not a part of my life. If I go to a concert, I'll have
Yeah.
a beer. I'm like, but I don't get it.
Girl, me neither.
I know. And I'm like, what about the pickle cucumber thing? Like, what about once you're turned into a pickle, you can't go back to being a cucumber?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I bet part of me is a little bit jealous
Sure.
that he
Yeah.
can go to a
Yeah.
concert and have a beer, you
You know what's
know?
funny is when I was doing tech sales, I worked with a group of girls women, sorry, who had successfully completed this program that allowed them to be an inside sales rep. And when I say completed the program, their program was in incarceration. They were incarcerated.
Yeah.
And so this sort of go-between company trained these women that were incarcerated this new sales skill, right? They were doing like sales development type stuff. They were, and then when they graduated, meaning were released, they were eligible to become an inside sales rep. And so I was the only, I knew the CEO and they, when I moved to Idaho, they created a job for me. So I was the only one that was an employee of the company that was an inside sales rep. The rest were women that had been previously
Yeah.
incarcerated, which was funny because everybody else in the company just assumed I had been incarcerated,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
had
yeah,
not.
yeah.
But who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. These women were amazing salespeople too. So they were amazing at their job. But we would do these sales conferences and they would drink. Most of them were there because of crimes related to
No, drugs and
drug
alcohol.
addiction.
I,
Yeah, it
I
was,
taught entrepreneurship in women's prisons, and yeah, same thing. The reason they kind of had me going in there, other than the fact that like I was an entrepreneur, was that because I had addiction issues. And so
yeah,
yeah, no, like I think 80% of people are in prison for a drug and
yeah,
alcohol related
yeah,
offense.
yeah.
So you watch them moderate or you watch them drink?
I did. They drank, they moderated, they went to work. I mean, they were highly functional. So I was like, whatever. I think that was one of the experiences that led me to I do not know what's right for anyone else.
I just
And if you read the 12-step literature, they do talk about the quote unquote real alcoholic. And those are like really hardcore bottom out cases, which I felt like even though like I had never been arrested, I didn't get fired, like the typical things that you would hear of, I was so emotionally bottomed out that, suicidal ideation was like
mm,
flirting in my mind and things. It got dark for me, so I considered myself a real alcoholic. That is the pickle for sure, and there's no coming back from that, I don't think. But
oh,
if we think of addiction as a spectrum, then maybe there are some people that are still on the cucumber side. I don't know.
I don't either. It's like just when you think you know,
Yeah,
right?
someone proves you wrong.
Yeah, like you see 40 people try to moderate and you kind of sit there waiting, right? And then none of them can. And then but then you see like people do it and it's like I just don't know. Like I just don't I
Yeah,
yeah, and
I
I
do not
agree.
know.
Maybe it's more about your emotional relationship. I was so dependent on alcohol. I thought about it so much.
Yeah, same.
I I still probably think about it like not as much as I don't know, maybe as much as the average person. Like if I'm out to dinner and I see somebody walk by with like a bottle of wine, like a waitress or waiter, I think
Yeah.
about it. But I don't know. I know
Yeah, it's
it's something I
funny.
struck. And then, yeah, I think we were talking about too about like cannabis, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
don't mess with anything.
I don't either. I can't.
Yeah,
Well, cannabis was my get down. Like I was high
yeah.
24/7. But okay, so here's another little thing so this is the real part of the confession is that I think so I love 12 step. I really do. I don't think it's perfect. I am very clear that there are lots of things that are actually very problematic about it, but I have found a way to get around what I think of as obstacles, right? And the reason I'm so passionate about it, I wrote a whole book about it for those that are watching us on YouTube, because I wanted to see if there was a way to help people gain access to the actual process of the 12 steps so that they could get, like, cause and effect, right? The cause is you take certain actions and you get certain effects. And I'm so obsessed with this process, that the actual writing process of the 12 step, because nothing has been able to deconstruct my negative belief system better than the 12-step process. And I really want people to get that treasure, right? It's like a buried treasure, but it's buried under a bunch of stuff, shall we say.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of like old man stuff. Like
It's
that's
old
right.
man stuff. It's people get triggered by the word alcoholic or powerless
Yeah,
or,
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like God, it's like those that seem to be the big three triggers. And then there's the differentiation between meetings and the actual program. Those are two separate things. And so I was like, I wonder if I can try to just clarify these things in a non-defensive kind of a way, but because I get super triggered when I perceive somebody as saying, here's another way because 12 step didn't work.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with
Yeah, I do.
this? So, I think when you initially pitched me, I just did a quick scan and I was like, that doesn't fit for me.
Yeah.
So I just didn't respond. And what was so interesting about how we met was that I was introduced through a friend. I didn't see that, and I got to see you. I
Yeah.
got to meet you, and I was like, this chick is so cool. I could see us
Oh,
hanging out for lunch if we live close by. Do you know what I mean? So I was like,
yeah.
wow, there was my own prejudice
Yeah.
popping up.
Yeah.
And again, it was sort of like a very humbling experience of, oh, here is an area where I'm not open-minded. Here I am, I'm asking other people
Yeah.
to be open-minded, and my book was closed. Do you
I
know what I
mean,
mean?
in a sense too, like I would say maybe when we pitched you, maybe I was more closed off even to AA. My brother had like recently relapsed after having been in AA for 10 years. So I was a little,
Wow.
and I remember reaching out to his AA friends and like they were not particularly helpful. And actually, they were right. They ended up being right
Mm.
that they could not
Okay.
fix him, right? Like I think I expected
You
them
were
to.
asked you were looking to them for help though
Yeah, but I wanted them to kind of go in like the cavalry and like
and
save
fix him.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't, but yeah, I think that it's really interesting the prejudices we have about
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just even certain like words, right? But also we got a comment, we got like a scathing review on the podcast the other day. I really liked it.
Someone got triggered.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, who are these like unrelatable ladies who, and it was basically like that we had never hit rock bottom. That because I was a functioning alcoholic with like a
Yeah.
career and like I had a dental practice and I sold, and she actually wrote, she's like, these ladies are like running around with their dental practices and their yoga retreats. And my sister-in-law teaches yoga, and it's like this is not the reality, and it's like but it's our reality, it's not
It
your
is.
reality, but it is.
Right.
There has to
A
be
reality. Yeah.
space for that somewhere, right?
Yeah. Like, are you not worthy of getting some help to address your
And
relationship with alcohol? Like,
so
that's
what
what drives
made,
me.
yeah, that's so what frustrated me was
Hmm.
this is what kept me sick in the first place, was that I wasn't bad
Yes.
enough.
Oh my
And
God.
I was a dentist, and so I didn't want to lose my license, and I didn't want to like admit I had a problem. And so that was actually that whole kind of like you're not a real alcoholic kept me sick.
I know.
And
I
so
know.
that's actually when because at first I was like, I respect that opinion. Then I was like, you know what? And then I was like, no, I still respect it. But yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and I've been talking about this a lot, like we're under every trigger is a treasure in the sense
Yeah.
that when I've been getting super triggered, I'm like, how do I have peace around being in the sober space, holding on to something that I love that gets bashed all the time? Like we frequently, there is this ideology of not bashing somebody else's program, except AA. Like that seems to be okay. And I just get super triggered and I'm like, what is the treasure under this? You know, do I need more compassion? Where am I closed-minded? And so I've really been digging, and it was just sort of a one of those like a wink from God. It was like a serendipitous sort of moment for me to realize, oh, I'm the one. You know, I'm the one with the prejudice. I'm the one that still is holding bias. And I really recognize that other people have a right to do their sobriety their own way. And I think it's so painful when you try to get help from 12 step and you don't get your needs met. You don't get met with the right perspective, or there's nobody there to give you context or perspective. There's, a lot of meetings are not well, and, people there don't have good recovery. And then they become the spokespeople of AA. And it makes me really sad that when that happens. But that is not for me to, I try to clarify where I can, but I'm not interested in fighting with anybody. I'm really not. Like, I'm not here to try to convince anyone. I thought I was for a minute there, and that's just, I don't want to argue with anybody. If like you don't want to do it, that's cool. You go to,
You think it matters where, like, I think what area of the country you're into, or like what meeting you go to? Like I've been like, because
yeah,
I
it
still will
does.
drop in on meetings, and like there's meetings where you drop in and it's like you know, four guys from like old guys from a motorcycle like gang with their Harleys smoking cigarettes outside and drinking coffee. And like maybe to me that's a bit of a like I'm intimidated a little bit by that to like walk into that meeting. And then
Yeah.
you know, in and when I'm in Toronto, you know, you go to a meeting like 3 blocks away and everyone's like my age and like dressed like
Professional.
me. And like,
Yeah.
so, and I hate to say it, like, I hate it. I mean, I've been to meetings like everywhere, right? Like in New York City. And like, there's just sometimes you walk in and like the vibe is just, I don't know. And maybe it's my judgment too. It's like, oh, I don't think these are my people.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, I'll tell you this one quick story. There was a meeting, there is a recovery center where I'm from. And I walked into this meeting, and mind you, I was in high-tech sales. I was wearing a very nice tailored dress. I was in heels. I had my Louis Vuitton bag, my Tiffany bracelet. You know what I mean? I was walking in, and these women are my age, but they're missing teeth. They have neck tattoos. They have three different color hair. um they're looking rough, right? And I walk in and I go, these women are not going to relate to me at all, right? And I start talking, and pretty soon when we talk about the feelings, all the other stuff kind of melts away. I know what it's like to not want to drink and not be able to say no. I know what it's like to wake up at 3 a.m. with a racing heart. I know what it's like to have to pull over on the way to work to puke because I'm so hungover. Um,
We're all the
just
same.
to hate myself, to wake up and go, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. I get it. Right. And when you speak from the heart, like that is the language that crosses all boundaries, kind of a thing. And suddenly we're all the same. And
Yeah.
I remember walking out of that meeting going, "There you go again. You thought you were different, and we are all the same."
No, that's true too, right? I think what it
Yeah.
is, it's like, yeah, it's those perceptions. But I think too, my brother sort of showed me that because he was a low bottom drunk. And so,
But
and
he was sober for 10 years.
yeah.
So it's so funny when someone relapses, were they a 10-year success story? Or is that a story of fail? You know what I mean?
I think that there were a number of years where he was a dry drunk.
Ah, sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I think so. I remember I was married at the time and like thinking about going to AA and telling my husband at the time, like, you know, I think I have a problem. And he's like, not like you're your brother. You're not as bad as your brother was. And
You're
it's like,
not as bad
yeah.
as
And it's like,
thing.
no, we're all the same. And especially when you look at a sibling, you're like, he came from the same place. Like his trauma is very similar.
Of
And
course. Yeah. Yeah.
so we're just a different bottom. Like that's
Yeah.
all. And in
Yeah.
some way, in some very, you know, not everyone's gonna get a DUI, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. I
He
didn't get
loved
one
it, he
either.
loves a good DUI. But like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's not gonna be everyone's turning point.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just thought it was super interesting. I thought I'd just kind of throw that out there because want to be somebody who is open-minded. And when I was feeling triggered, the treasure for me was to recognize an area where I was holding judgment and being closed-minded. And I was like, wow, I missed out on knowing you 3 years, a couple years ago. But here we are, and yeah, everything happens as it should. And today, listen, that wasn't the whole topic of this conversation. What we're really, we're like halfway. I'm glad you're not in a hurry. Um, we are going to talk about your story and some of the tools that you have used to heal, recover, relearn, whatever. We're going to be talking about journaling, how we can use journaling, and I think we've come up with maybe 5 different methods of journaling that we can talk about. But before we jump into that, I like to play. I'm pulling out my lightning round paper.
Oh,
Dun dun dun. Ready for this?
yeah. There's gonna be
When
some
you
long pauses, but go
I
ahead.
know, this is fine. When you first got sober, were there any books that were really helpful?
Oh, is it Sarah Hepola? Blackout?
Oh, yeah, gosh, that one comes up a lot.
Yeah, that was a good one. There was another one. I have to think of the name. It's a guy with three names. Augustine
Neil
Burroughs.
Donald
No,
Walsh.
no, Augustine Burroughs running with scissors.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that one too. Running with Scissors. That's a recovery book.
It is about his recovery. It's
Ah,
about
it's like a
his,
memoir.
yeah, it's a memoir.
Yeah. There's something about hearing other people's stories. Like that's the acronym for HOPE, hearing other people's experiences.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good one. If you look back, gosh, you've been sober 8 years now. It's a long time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there a theme to your sobriety? Is there a mantra that you've hung on to? And I'll buy you a little time by sharing, mine's obviously like one day at a time. Like that has really helped me. It's like a little mind hack. Like I'm not worried
Mhm.
about next year or whatever. Is there something like that that has really helped you through your sobriety?
Yeah, I play the tape forward
Okay.
all the time. Like, so anytime I'm at like a cocktail party or I'm out with friends that are having drinks, like I play the tape forward. Like when I feel like I'm not fitting in, like this sucks, like I start to get kind of like agitated, I play the tape forward to like the next morning and I'm like, oh my God, I get to wake up in my like comfy bed, not hungover. And like even that evening, I'll be like, I get to go home and like watch Grey's Anatomy and pop popcorn. And so these things still feel so like novel to me. But I play the tape forward like anytime I have a craving. Or yeah, anytime I have a craving.
That's so interesting that you play it forward and you think of the positives. Like my mind immediately went to, I'm not going to risk driving drunk.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a total hoe.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I'm not going to wake up like throwing up on like, yeah, or wake up on the tiles of the bathroom floor. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be blacking out. Yeah,
Maybe that has changed a little bit. I would say like when I was going through my divorce, like I would be like, I really want to drink like a bottle of wine. And like I think that I played the tape forward and I was like sending angry messages in my mind to
ooh.
like the mistress and to my husband and like everybody I knew and like rah, rah, rah. And so that when I played, I was like, I don't want to be that person. I do
Yeah.
a little bit like that petty part, but like I don't want to be that person. And alcohol lets me be that person.
Yeah, I don't want to be that person. Yeah, that's a good one. That is a powerful motivator. Do you have a regular self-care practice, like a morning routine, or do you think of like a set of meetings that you go to weekly, anything like that?
I'm a big journaler. I think like that's something that's so consistent. Also, like I travel like a little bit, and so it's something you can take with you, which I
Yeah.
love. I don't like working out, but I do it.
Same.
Yeah, I hate it, but I do it. I don't know. I think like my evening routine is really calming. And so I
Okay.
kind of need to be like in my bedroom, sort of like near or on my bed for a couple of hours, like
Hmm.
before I go to bed. And whether it's like journaling or reading or like, and reading is something I couldn't do at night when I was drinking.
Yeah.
And so it's something like anything like that is still really special to me. Like things that I just because
Oh,
I was like an everyday drinker, like every day for at
okay.
least a decade. And so every day I couldn't get in bed and read.
Wow.
Yeah, every day I didn't take my makeup off for 10 years. And like so I think it's those things that were impossible before that feel the most like sacred.
That's so interesting. I'm pretty obsessed with like my morning routine, but I didn't even think about my morning routine. I I have like this routine of like taking a bath and washing off my face, and I have like this whole skincare. I'm obsessed with like all this skincare stuff. It's super fun for me. It smells good a little bit.
Yeah.
And then my husband and I typically watch TV before we go to bed, and that is sort of my wind down process. So yeah, it's kind of nice to have something at both ends to kind of calm down.
Yeah, I would like to, I had a dog up until like 6 weeks ago. She
Oh
was
no, I'm so sorry. What
it's okay.
happened?
Oh, she was 16 and a half.
Oh,
So we had a good run. But so my morning routine was always taking her out the first thing, like when I open my eyes, I would take her out. And so it may be time for me to think about a morning routine.
yeah. Yeah, Dogs will do that. I have one too, and
Yeah.
that guy's got to get out first thing.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, is there one thing that you wish you would have known when you first got sober about yourself, about sobriety?
Something I didn't realize was that not drinking was just the beginning.
Yeah,
And so I still had like, I don't want to say like it's not an uphill battle, but there was still a lot of stuff to like uncover and dig through. And
hmm
I and I don't know if it would have helped to know, like, okay, let's just stay sober. Let's just focus on the not drinking for a few months. But eventually we're gonna have to deal with this stuff. And it's good stuff. Like it's good. It feels good to deal with it. But I really thought it was almost like purely a physical addiction, more like psychological, more like a habit. I did
right.
not think that to stay sober, I would have to like mine like the depths of my trauma.
I know, isn't that crazy? Like we don't realize that they're like we have trauma when you were young, and then we dissociate, like we just literally like bury it somewhere. And we become unconscious of it, but that is the very thing that compels the addiction. And we're like, why am I like this? I don't even know. Well, of course you don't. You're dissociated.
Yeah. And it's like, I know it sounds like it's just like, oh, like I don't want to figure that stuff out, but it's like I like I feel bad for people who don't get to figure that out.
I know.
Like my ex, I don't think will ever like figure it out, you know? And I think like that's what it is when you're numbing and running and you just, I don't know. I think it's a gift.
It is. I always say that alcoholism is like the best, worst thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan Holiday wrote this book called The Obstacle is the Way.
Yeah.
Yeah, alcoholism was definitely my obstacle, but it became like a whole way of life for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It sort of, I mean, I wouldn't say it defines me, but it's a big part of my identity, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's one of those things that really determined my value system.
Yeah.
I had to get very clear on what it was that I valued, like what kind of attributes did I want to embody? What was really, the what were the principles, like in 12 step they call them the principles, honesty, integrity, service, like spirituality, like those were the things that I wanted to stay focused on. And I wouldn't have if I
Yeah.
hadn't, been forced to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how we got here because I was doing some research and you were on some other podcasts and I know that you had immigrant parents. My mom was actually an immigrant too, so we have that in common. Yeah, my mom
Yeah.
was from Mexico City. Dad is from
Uh,
Kentucky, so hence the
yeah.
fairness. But uh and some of the things that I read about you was this idea that there was such high expectations of you growing up. What was that like for you?
I mean, I think sometimes you were born a certain way. And I'm one of those people that if you tell me like I suck and I can't do it, I'll agree with you. I'm not
Oh,
going to be like, I can do it. And I don't respond to that type of encouragement, if you want to
yeah,
call it, or that type of like tough love. And so I think for me, it just created this like, it didn't create like motivation and inspiration. It just created this like bundle of anxiety.
anxiety.
And
Yeah,
so I think that's how the pressure felt. And so it would get, it would just like escalate to where it was like, I was like paralyzed almost. And then I would like, and then go back to some sort of baseline and then it would start escalating again. And so I think that, yeah, I think that some people are just built a certain way and some people are like, I can do it. And some people are like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And I was one of the, yeah, so scared to fail, so scared to, yeah, not meet the expectations.
yeah, that's really tough to deal with on a daily basis. Would you consider that a form of trauma, growing up with these unreasonable expectations or not feeling good enough or
I think a lot of immigrant kids grow up with those expectations. I think the trauma comes in the way that they were expressed to me.
Mm. Do you have an
Like,
example?
yeah, I mean, my dad was a like harsh kind of abusive guy. And so if you didn't do well on a test or something, there were repercussions. And so I think that it was more that than the expectation. So there was this added on like fear.
So there was punishment. What kind of punishment are we talking about? It was like corporal punishment or
Yeah.
shame?
Yeah, all of it. All of it. It was like verbal, physical, yeah,
Wow.
psychological. And so I think there are ways to express expectations and disappointment without doing that. I'm still learning, right, how to do it
Yeah.
in a healthy way.
Right.
But that, yeah, I think that essentially, like, I shut down. Like, when people raise their voices, I shut down. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The freeze response. That's
Mhm.
really hard. So you started drinking. Yes, I read somewhere that you started, you can't read or believe everything you read on the internet. So it sounded like you started smoking first and then drinking. Is that true?
Yeah, I started smoking probably around 13 and then drinking around 15, like those just kind of awkward years.
Everybody does. Yeah. It seems like that's when it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you recognize that it was becoming problematic? Like, because I know you didn't drink till you stopped till later. When did it become problematic for you?
Um, I would say when you look, I'm sure you feel this way. Like when I look back, like it was always
Yeah.
problematic. Like I was never a normal drinker. Like I was always
Yeah.
binge drinking. I was like always getting sick. Like, and
Oh,
so it's,
blacking out.
yeah, blacking out seemed normal in college. You could get away with it.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would say probably, and so I just binged, right, until I wasn't in school. And then when I started working full time and I had like a little bit of money and could like pick up a bottle of wine on the way home, and it was like very sophisticated, right? Like I'm going
Yeah.
to open a bottle of wine and I'm going to,
So bougie.
yeah. And so probably a couple of years before I quit, like when I was trying like 35, 36, I was like, I started trying to go a day
Mm.
without drinking and I never did.
Wow.
There was years where I would try. I would like wake up on a Monday and be like, I'm not going to drink today. And by Monday night, I'd be drinking.
Yeah. What did that do to your self-esteem or your self-image?
I mean, I think that I was in such like denial that I was very much like, well, I worked really hard today.
Yeah.
So,
I
or it was a
deserve.
really, yeah, it was a really tough day and I'll do it tomorrow. So I didn't think like, oh, I'm constantly failing at this because I wasn't taking it seriously enough.
Yeah. Because you weren't as bad as your brother, quote unquote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy to dismiss it.
Yeah. What was it that made you finally decide that you needed to get help or that you really had to? Was there a moment or was it just like a series of it's
Yeah.
either for some people it's like a traumatic experience or like a bottoming out experience or it's accumulative and one day you look back and you're like, wow, I haven't drank. What was that like for you?
Yeah. I think it was a series of events, probably over a year, where like really bad blackouts with when I was with other people.
Mm.
And so, and really like, getting home and not having any recollection of like how I got home. And
Were
I
you were you driving?
No, never drove because I
Oh, good for
lived in a
you.
city.
I
And
did.
so, yeah, I was really lucky with that too. Because for some reason, I also knew if I got a DUI, I would lose my dental license.
Oh, yeah. And you work so hard for that.
Yeah. And so I was very careful about it. And so, yeah, I think there was a series of really bad nights. And also I started to feel like chronically ill.
Mm,
Like I only felt better, right? The only part of the day I felt good was after like my first drink, like
wow.
in the evening. So I was sick essentially all day. The first couple of drinks felt good. Then I would start to black out and then I would be hungover in the morning. And so I think that cycle just started to wear on me. And I think I started to see like I couldn't see my future.
Mm.
I couldn't see, what does this look like when I'm 60, 70, 80? Like, what is this? How do you even get to that age doing this? Like, I started to not be able to visualize like a future.
Yeah, that'd be scary. It'd be hard to be just like chronically ill all the time. You're just like
Yeah.
chronically hungover.
Chronically hungover. Like,
How much were you
constantly.
drinking?
I mean, really, like, probably by the end, like a little over a bottle of wine a night.
So like 4 or 5 glasses a night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes like a bottle and a half. If I went over that, then I was like sick.
Yeah. Did your husband ever express concern about your drinking?
No, which makes him a bit of an asshole now that I look
Dick. No, I'm
back.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. Do you want me to
Yeah.
hit him? Because I will.
Yeah. No, I don't blame him at all for anything,
No, no,
really.
I'm kidding.
He was smoking weed, and I think that sometimes
Oh,
when you have your own issue, you're
he
not
wasn't
gonna
even.
start pointing out somebody
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
else's, because then I think it would have been like, well, you're smoking weed.
yeah,
And so he never, I mean, the minute I would pour a glass of wine, he would like light up a bowl. And so it
yeah,
wasn't they were different. And for some reason, I don't know if he had me convinced or I was convinced that weed was like not addictive and a lot better. And so I wasn't super concerned about his habit. He didn't seem super concerned about mine.
yeah. I smoked non-addictive marijuana every day for like 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. He was smoking every day.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. If you're doing something every day, it's like people who are like, oh, if I could smoke, if I could do heroin like a normal person, I would do it every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. So you decide, was there like a dark moment that you were just like, this has to stop?
Yeah. I think there were a lot, like I think I was blacking out the majority of the nights, the months before I quit. And we went out one night with another couple, which is, this is very funny, but my ex-husband ended up cheating on me with her, the couple that we were out with the night before I stopped.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And, uh-huh. And
Yeah.
she was pregnant and drinking. I remember. And we were at a BYO. And so there were just like an enormous number of bottles of wine. And so I wasn't tracking at all like how much I was drinking. I showed up drunk. I think I went home and drank more. And I had brunch with a girlfriend of mine the next day. And I was like seeing like splotches of black. Like I was like, I could barely like stand up straight. And I just remember, and Sundays were like a great day for me to, have mimosas and start drinking early. And um, the waiter came by and was like, "Do you want a mimosa?" And I don't think I'd ever said no to like a drink. And I said, I just remember this like moment, and I thought, no, no,
Wow.
I'm not gonna drink today because I am so sick right now. And I knew it would make me feel better in the moment.
Mm.
But I thought, let me just try today. Let me just try today. And that was it. And that was a Sunday. And then I made it to Monday morning. And I was still not well Monday morning. It was like one of those multi-day
Wow.
hangovers.
That's called alcohol poisoning.
Yeah. And I stayed sober again Monday. And then probably after a week or two, I called my brother and I said, I think I might need to go to AA. This is like a lot harder than I thought. And he had no idea that
Yeah,
I'd been
because you were
struggling.
so high functioning.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. That's a brave admission, especially to somebody who's in the program, because then you got to back it up with some action.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I just, yeah, it was definitely a moment where it's like, okay, I'm gonna say it. And once you say it, you can't unsay it.
I know. I can't
Yeah,
let that genie put it back in the bottle, so to speak.
yeah.
So you didn't really do the traditional 12-step route. Is that a fair statement? I mean, you
Yeah,
explored it a little.
I explored it a little. Had my brother who was in the program
Right, right,
and
right.
was super helpful. But when I discussed it with my husband at the time, he was like, "You can't go to a meeting around where we live."
It'll jeopardize your career.
Yeah, what if
Yeah.
people see you? What if people see you? And he wasn't wrong. I don't blame him for saying that. And so I really thought, okay, I'm just gonna like listen to a ton of podcasts and
Hmm.
excuse me,
Bless you.
read a ton of, quit lit and
Hmm.
just kind of immerse myself in that and get support that way. And it really did work. It really did. I
That's
think I listened to
awesome.
your podcast actually. Um,
Ooh, don't make
and
my
so,
ego get out of control.
yeah, but it really helps to hear other people's stories, even if there's like a
Yeah.
little like piece that resonates.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. And it just, so you are an example of there are many paths, right? And every path is valid, is really how I truly feel about it. Every path to sobriety is valid. And I feel like there's so many options and solutions that there's no reason not to find one, find a path, right?
Yeah.
First, you have to answer the question, can I moderate or not? And I think that's really an important question to answer. But once you feel like you have enough evidence that no, I cannot, then there's lots of ways. And I want to talk about some of the ways, like one of the tools of sobriety is journaling. And you and I identified a few different ways. I have some books in front of me. So for those listening on the podcast, I'm holding up The Power of Two-Way Prayer and The Artist Way. Did you know? I don't know if you knew this, but Julia Cameron is also sober.
No,
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, just a little shout out to Julia Cameron for being sober.
that's in my Kindle right now.
Oh my God, I love this book. Yeah,
Oh,
if y'all
okay.
haven't, those of you who are listening, if you haven't checked out The Artist Way, she's talking about morning pages journaling. And what's interesting about morning pages is that it's virtually like a brain dump. And you write 3 pages, like front, back,
Yeah.
like 3 pages.
Yeah.
And what I find it's really challenging to do that, but people that can submit to that process, it's like you're just getting out like all the chatter that's in your brain, you're just getting it all out on paper and your mind is more peaceful because of that. What forms of journaling have you tried?
Yeah. So I look at the morning pages like as equivalent to just like a mind dump, right?
Yeah.
Like just you take whatever is in your head and like write it down, stream of consciousness. You don't edit it at all. Yeah, the 3 pages. But I think you can like have versions of morning pages where you just write down whatever you're feeling. And I do that sometimes if I'm going through a really hard time. Sometimes I'll like break from my routine of doing like evening journaling and I'll just grab my journal in the middle of the day and write everything I'm feeling. So I love that. I'm really into gratitude journaling.
Oh,
And
I
I
love that.
think, yeah, and I think I got to that. It's interesting that I felt like gratitude came at my lowest point. So when my ex left, it was like I have nothing. I have nothing to, you know, I
You
don't
were
know.
5 years sober at this point?
I was 5 years sober and I was having a hard time staying sober. I did stay sober, but it was really helpful to gratitude journal. And so pick 3 things that you're thankful for. And it really, I think it shifts your nervous system,
Yeah.
right? I think it
Yeah.
shifts it from this, yeah, fight or flight almost.
Yeah. And
And
you had
it's,
been in a relationship for 18 years
yeah, yeah.
and you were
And it was
blindsided by this.
blindsided. And so it was so, it's still surreal, like, but it was so shocking that, and also, just like on practical note, like we were living between New York and like rural Pennsylvania, and New York just didn't feel like home. So I came back to rural Pennsylvania and I was pretty isolated physically. And so it was really hard to picture what my life was going to look like.
Yeah.
And so actually be listing what I was grateful for was really, that was the building blocks of like creating a new life, I think.
It's so interesting because I also use something called the 5 minute journal.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Yeah, and I was cleaning out my closet for I have all these books from interviewing authors and I was kind of cleaning out my closet and I found six 5 minute journals that were completed. And
Wow.
it has something inspiring. And then it's three things you're grateful for, three things that would make the day great, an affirmation, and then there's an evening phase where you write down three good things that happen and something that you learned. And so I
Hmm.
tend to do mine. I write the evening portion in the morning for the day before because I only do it
Ah,
once a day. So
yeah.
I do the evening part from the day before, and then I fill the top part out. So I end up
Yeah.
filling out the whole thing. But so the studies are showing that as you like, they say that whatever you focus on expands. So if you're writing down three things that you're grateful for, three things that would make the day great, you subconsciously are looking for those throughout the day, and your brain
Yeah.
starts to orient towards positive things, whereas, we actually are fighting against negativity bias,
Yeah.
right? Our brains are naturally wired for survival, so we're always looking for threats.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of threats out there these days, real or imagined. So it does sort of reorient I would call this your locus of control. So, like an internal locus of control is I'm intentional about how I spend my time, the thoughts that I think, the actions that I take, whereas opposed to an external locus of control is I'm reacting to external stimulus, like reacting instead of responding. So it's a really interesting way to sort of like rewire your brain.
That's really interesting. I think that's super helpful.
Oh my God.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
So when I coach clients, I often ask them to get it and then we trade lists. Like they'll fill it out and take a picture of it and text it to me.
Oh,
And I'll do that for them too sometimes, depending on who it is. But it's really like as a coach, it's good for me to sort of be able to keep track of what's going on in their life between
yeah.
sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So that's been really good. What other types of journaling have you
So I
tried?
was doing a lot of emotional processing.
Through
And so,
for your divorce?
yeah. And it was
Yeah.
just that. I think, too, like, I think sobriety brings up
Yeah.
stuff, just like a bunch of stuff you've been like pushing down or not wanting to deal with. And you've been numbing, right? So I think,
Distracting, numbing. Yeah.
yeah. And so I think the emotional processing is like, admitting things like, I'm angry, right? And why am I angry? Because I'm scared about what my life is going to look like. Or, I'm angry. It took me a while to even say, I'm angry that my ex cheated on me.
Oh, that betrayal is so
Yeah,
brutal.
but honestly, for the first, if I trace back my journal entries from the first 6 months, like it was more like, what did I do wrong?
Oh, like you were
Like,
blaming yourself?
yeah, what did I
Uh,
do? What could I have done differently? What mistakes did I make? And so and that's kind of the beautiful thing about journaling is that you can look back and see. And so just when I'll have days where I'm like, I thought I would be so much better by now, I'll look back and I am so much better.
oh, yeah.
Like
You're
this,
comparing yourself to yourself.
yeah, like this is like way more healed than I was, a year ago type of thing. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I really think like naming your emotions is and something really hard, I think, for people that are newly sober.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, just naming them. And like my sister-in-law is a therapist and she has like the emotions wheel.
Ah,
And so
yeah.
that is really helpful. And it's helpful to like some things. I didn't know nausea was an emotion.
Oh, I would think of it as a sensation.
Yeah, and it was an emotion. It was like,
It's an
no,
emotion.
it's part of, so nausea is part of anxiety for me.
Do you think that so journaling really helps your anxiety?
Yeah, I think it does like a lot. They say they I we had somebody on the guest, a therapist that said they've done studies where it has the same effect as talking to a friend. To like
Oh, the journaling?
processing some, a situation with a friend, the same effect that you get from journaling. And I was like, that is something, right?
What a great tool. There are so many people who want to get sober, like quote unquote, on their own, right? And I feel like these are people that are hyper responsible, people who have trust issues, like they couldn't rely on the people they grew up, like their family, to be safe. And so, what a great tool for people who sort of fall into that category.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I really love that. And then I thought about it after and I thought, yeah, it is like that. And even more so in the sense that there are things I can't say to some of my friends.
Right. So, some things you shouldn't say to your friends.
I I have like I do have the greatest friends in the world, but I had a friend, I don't think she's gonna listen to this. She said to me, she's hooking up with a married guy, and she said, why can't he leave his wife like Jeremy left you for his mistress?
She said that to right to your face.
But she herself's in so much pain over this relationship. I
She's so
don't
wrapped
think
up in it.
yeah,
No.
I promise I've known her for 27, 20, almost 30 years. I know she didn't mean it. And honestly, I laughed when she said
She forgot who she was talking to.
I laughed when she said it. I said, I don't know. I don't know. Like
Okay,
why
I just want to offer a little, like, apparently this is my day of confession, but when I was drinking, I often dated married men, and I didn't
yeah,
know that I dated married men because they were emotionally unavailable, because I thought so
I was
little
gonna
of
wear that.
myself that I couldn't, like, real intimacy is somebody who's willing to stand in front of you and look at you, all of you, good and bad, and accept all of who you are. Like, that to me is real intimacy. And yeah, by choosing people that were unavailable, there was never any threat of any real intimacy. And that was all low self-esteem stuff.
I think that is what's going on with her. Maybe I should suggest that as a possible explanation.
Girl, send her my way. I'll talk to
I know,
her.
I know. No, I mean, there is something about that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it comes from not good enough, low self-esteem, and
yeah. And I
choosing.
felt it when she said that to me too. I felt it. Like, I was like, it made me so sad for her.
Yeah.
It made me
Like,
so sad.
she's saying, why am I not good enough?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so sad.
I know.
I
I
feel for
know.
her. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope she can get out of
You sound real empathetic. I get
that. Oh, yeah. Ho for show. Okay, listen. Talk about when you said that journaling is like writing to a good friend. That made me think of the power of two-way prayer. And that is sort of a really old Oxford group. Like, A was founded off of the Oxford group, and they were like pretty strict, pretty religious. And of course, so the guy that wrote the book, The Power of Two-Way Prayer, was Father Bill. He's a religious guy, so he's kind of bringing it back. But actually, Elizabeth Gilbert has Letters from Love, which is essentially the same thing. So the idea is that you ask unconditional love questions, and then you write from the perspective of unconditional love what you think unconditional love would say. And that's just like talking to a friend,
it
somebody
is.
who loves you.
I feel like the great thing about it is you can define it any way. You can define the other side of the two
Yes.
any way you want. So you
Anyway,
can call it your tuition,
yeah,
intuition, you can call it your guides, you can
yeah.
call it a spiritual, you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to fit anything specific. I actually
Mm-mm.
will ask questions to my intuition,
To your intuition. Do you
to
have
my
a,
gut.
are you spiritual? Do you believe in a God or a higher power or anything like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. For sure, spiritual, no specific denomination, but for
Yeah.
sure, I believe in, yeah, I believe there's a reason for everything. And
Mhm.
so the intuition, this is really interesting, is that my therapist said to me, you've spent your life learning to ignore your intuition. So now we have to like unlearn that. We have to
Yeah.
you've been shoving your intuition down. You've been pushing it down when it comes up. Like, so this doesn't feel right. You push it back down. And so now it's a practice to get
Yeah.
in touch with my intuition.
They say that learning is really like healing is unlearning. It's like unlearning the impulse to dissociate or push it down. It's like,
Yeah.
And it's, self-avoidance. There's this book by Tara Brach called Radical Self-Acceptance.
Yeah.
I think I love this book. Like, I know some people are like put off by the title, but that is the book I return to probably more than any other except for like the 12 step literature because
Yeah.
she's talks in such a compassion. It's like a series of lecture. Have you heard it or read it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, she talks a lot about the self-avoidance, and the self-avoidance is all about I have pain I don't know how to resolve, right? And these journaling practices are a way to process pain to resolution
Yeah. And
in
I
a
think
very
it's
gentle
like,
way.
I think she talks, I don't know if she talks about it in that book, but like that journaling is not always comfortable.
No,
These
no.
feelings are not like, there are days where the last thing I want to do is journal. Like if I'm really actively upset, it is really uncomfortable to journal. And sometimes I will skip it. I try not to when I'm really upset. Then also I try to be, gentle with
What
myself.
do you do when you are really upset? Like if you're angry?
If I am like at that sort of like in the spiral, I sort of know that my tools are like Netflix and chill. And I don't
Okay.
need to do it all day. I just need like half an hour to like bring it down,
Yeah.
maybe make some popcorn, just like bring it down, bring the
Yeah.
lights down. And so that usually will prep me. But I think that's what's hard about sometimes even with sobriety. It's like people get sobriety fatigue because you feel this pressure to be like, I have to work out, I have to eat properly, I have to be sober, I have to, and so I think sometimes it's just too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
don't want to be the journaling queen.
Yeah, for those of us who are, like the Home Depot theme is my anthem, like more doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I really appreciate your intuition of resting,
Yeah.
like resting is a thing, like that is resting is a tool for, and it's so funny because those of us who sort of identify with like the overachiever, never good enough, more doing, the doing the exact opposite, which is letting your nervous system calm down, take your anxiety offline for a minute. Like that's, people sort of use this idea of, oh, go touch grass, like in a sort of
Yeah.
mean way, but
Yeah.
that's a thing. Like go outside, look around. Like it was so interesting. Carol Dweck was a Stanford professor who developed this EMDR therapy, the eye movement desensitization reprocessing.
Yeah. I did EMDR for a couple of years.
Oh my God, it's amazing. But it was interesting because she talked about how she'd go on walks and her eyes would scan the landscape. And when we are in fear and inactivated, it creates an intense focus. And so, doing the opposite of that, like scanning your environment, being outside, birds, the sound of birds are commonly. So, if there is a predator, birds are quiet. So, hearing birds creates like a natural primordial feeling of safety. So, isn't that interesting? So, all these little tricks that we have. I typically, when I get really angry, I need to talk to somebody.
I do that too.
Yeah, I need someone to talk me off the ledge.
I think
But when I'm
that
really triggered, I forget who my friends are. So I literally have a post-it note under my desk of,
so I interviewed Shannon Watts from Moms Demand Action. She started after Sandy Hook for gun violence.
oh,
And
bless her heart.
she was reading something or listening to a podcast that said you should be able to count like 5 people you can call in the middle of the night, and it
Yeah,
can't be your family.
yeah,
And she realized she didn't have 5 people. And she really set out intentionally to create a community of women she could rely on. And I think
yeah,
that's really important in sobriety. I think that is, I don't know what I would have done during my divorce if I didn't have the 5 women.
yeah, for sure. When I sponsor women, I ask them to do what I call willingness calls. And that is you make, at least one phone call every day to several different people. And the idea is that you're willing to sort of go outside your comfort zone and you connect. And In our
Yeah.
community, everybody be like, Arlena's making me do this thing. They're like, yeah, we know. It's fine. It's just call. But you get five people that you call. And the point is, it's easier to call when you feel good. It's very difficult to call when you feel bad. So we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. So if you put in the reps of making these phone calls when you feel good, you are way
Yeah.
more likely to make the phone call when you feel bad.
Yeah. You're totally right.
Yeah, it's been a really good practice for me. And the thing is if you're current with like even three people,
Yeah.
when the shit hits the fan and you call the first person and they're not there, you get the second person on the phone. You're
Yeah.
like, can I just, talk to you for a few minutes? You don't have to spend a lot of time on the backstory. You can get right into the solution because they're
Yes.
already up to date.
Yeah.
So that was the other benefit of the
Yeah,
willingness
I
call.
agree. I think five is a lot, actually. I think three
Five's a
is,
lot,
yeah, 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 yeah. I think three is great. I think
but five would be
five,
awesome.
yeah, I think five, like for me, because I don't have a spouse and I don't have kids, five is good, right? And
Five is
so,
good.
but
Yeah.
I think if you have a spouse and you have kids, like, especially like when you have older kids that you can like talk to, I think three is probably where it's at.
What's so funny is so my husband's sober too. We've been together since I was like 5 months sober when we started dating. But I started doing this thing with him when I need to vent. I'll be like, he grew up with women, so he learned not to offer a solution. He learned to listen. But
Wow.
yeah, but
That's a good
the
one.
downside of that is sometimes I felt like I was talking to a plant because he wouldn't respond. So I'd be like, okay, I need to talk. I'm just gonna vent. And at the end, I need a poor baby and a hug. And he'd be like, okay, go. So I'd be like, blah, 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 and I'd pause and I look at it and I go, poor baby. And he goes, oh, poor baby. Give
Oh,
me a
yeah,
hug. I could see
yeah,
how
yeah,
you'd feel that way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He does this funny thing where he'd be like, do you want me to hate them?
yeah. Yes. Yes. I love
Just,
that.
yeah, just always on my side, which is so funny. It makes me
That's what
laugh because, of
I
course, not.
said that to my boyfriend the other day. Like I was like, we don't have to be compatible about like everything and like we have to be aligned on everything. But if I hate someone, you hate them. And he was like, yeah, 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 for sure, for
For
sure. I was
sure.
like, yeah.
That's a good guy.
Yeah.
It always makes me laugh when he says it because it's like the absurdity just makes me giggle, right?
Yeah.
Like he has a way of lightening the mood. But I
Oh, I
always,
love that.
yeah. So ask for poor baby. Like a lot of times, like men know they're not supposed to fix, but they don't know what to do instead. So
Yeah.
we need to get better at telling people what it is that we need from them.
Love that.
Yeah, poor baby and a hug. Was there any other kind of journaling we should talk about, or do you feel like that was good?
I think there's always like prompt based is always
Oh, right,
fun
right.
and good. I think it like gets you out of your head a bit and into like, oh wait, I hadn't thought about that, right? If you read a
Yeah,
prompt from like we have them on our Substack, I think you have prompts, right, too, that you can like give people like journal prompts. And so I could
that's
read
really
all of
good.
that. Yeah. And then the one that I just started using, but like a little bit briefly, I'll do it while I'm doing like emotional journaling, is like the somatic, which is
What
like the
was that?
body scan. And
Oh,
so
and you're
um
writing out your body scan?
so you're kind of like you kind of go from like head to toe and think what am I feeling, right? Is
Mm,
like my shoulder tight? Is my chest feeling
jaw.
like heavy? Yeah, yeah, right. So sometimes I'll feel off and I don't know, like I'll just be like, ugh, I don't know. And then I'll like
Ah,
stop. And if you start to kind of like scan down, you're like, oh, I think I have anxiety. Or and something like that, right? Like it's just,
yeah,
yeah. So I like that. Or you'll notice, I'll be like, oh, you know what? My knee kind of hurts. I'm gonna take a Tylenol, like, or whatever it is. But I
yeah,
think sometimes your body gives you clues that
for sure.
something else is going on and you
Yeah.
don't realize it.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I had not heard of the body scan connected to journaling. That's genius. That's really good. Yeah, our
Yeah.
bodies have a lot of wisdom, and if you've experienced trauma when you're young, we learn to dissociate from our body.
Yes.
So this is a
Yes.
great way to sort of unlearn some of
That is
that.
what it is. I have learned to dissociate, right? Especially
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think I have a very like high threshold for physical pain too. So you don't sometimes
Yeah.
it's like I need to stop and scan.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. Well, listen, I kept you way longer than than I had intended. I'm glad you didn't have a hard stop because I feel like we covered a lot of ground, lots of different
Yeah.
forms of journaling. But thank you so much for sharing your story and all the tools that have helped you. And I really appreciate the work you're doing. If people are interested in getting a hold of you, where can they find you?
Oh, you can head over to our Substack at substack.sistersinsobriety.com. And so all our information is there, or check out our podcast, Sisters in Sobriety. Yeah, but thanks for having me, Arlina.
Yeah, I had so much fun being a guest on your podcast. Is it out? It hasn't come out
No, it
yet.
hasn't come out yet.
Okay, yeah. I cannot wait to hear it because I had so much fun.
It
I have
was
no
really
idea what I
fun.
said. But I'm going to leave those that are listening, I'm going to leave links in the show notes. So if you're driving, you don't have to try to remember all that. But Sonia, it was such a pleasure to hang out with you again. I thank you so much for everything that you shared today.
Thank you.